Shripadarajam Sharanam Prapadhye, Chapter 13. The account of Ananda Sharma. I proceeded towards Kurvapuram after taking permission from Subbaya Srishti. I reached a village by the time of nightfall. I was thinking as to which house I should go to collect alms of food. I saw a Brahmin comfortably seated on a flat terrace outside his house. He was in conversation with people sitting by his side. His eyes were very bright. Compassion was flowing fully from his eyes. He invited me cordially into his house and offered me meals. After I finished the meals, he began to tell, "My child, I am called Ananda Sharma. I practice devotedly Gayatri Mantra. A short while ago, Mother Gayatri appeared to me in internal eye and told me that a devotee of Datta is arriving. She asked me to offer that visitor sumptuous meals and that I would derive punya when I see Lord Datta. Everything took place as told by her. It is extremely happy." I told him, "Sir, I am only a devotee of Datta, having heard that Lord Datta is presently moving on earth under the name of Sri Padashri Vallabha. I am going to Kurvapuram to have his darshan. My name is Shankara Bhatt. I am a Brahmin from Karnataka." The description of the hermitage of sage Kanva. Ananda Sharma laughed on hearing my words. He said, "Sir, one Avaduta came to our house at the time my father was performing my thread ceremony. My people extended all services to him. He explained many matters relating to the practice of Gayatri Mantra. He directed us to visit Nusimhadeva in Penchalakona. My father took me to Penchalakona. After seeing Nusimhadeva, unexpectedly my father was absorbed in meditation. That meditation went on for many days and nights. I was afraid. I became hungry. Some stranger gave me food. He took me through unpenetrable forest paths into some hilly caves. Then he disappeared. I saw an old hermit in that cave. His eyes were like blazing fireballs. He was being served by 101 sages. That old hermit told that he was Kanva Maharshi and that the areas was his land of penance and that his disciples, though appeared young, were thousands of years old. He added that on account of the great punya earned by seeing Lord Datta in Avaduta form, I could come to that Tapobhumi with astonishment and great delight. My speech was lost, body was shivering. Then sage Kanva said like this: "Now Lord Datta is in the form of Sri Padashri Vallabha in Pitikapuram. You convey our submission to the Lord to kindly take care of us. May you have the darshan of Sri Padashri Vallabha at the earliest." He blessed us and placed his sacred hand on my head. I was transported to my father in a trice. After my father came back to normalcy, both of us went to our village. I did not disclose to my father my experience in the ashram of sage Kanva or the fact that the new incarnation of Lord Datta was in Pitikapuram, the holy Kshetra Patishachala near Rajamandri. Time was passing by. Due to the efficacy of the blessing of sage Kanva, I was getting a vision of Padukas in my meditation. Once some relations came to our house. They had a desire to take bath in holy rivers and visit holy pilgrim centers. They wanted my father to accompany them. At that time, I was 10 years old. My father was very much fond of me, so he asked me to come along with him. I agreed. Rajamahendravaram city is on the banks of river Godavari. On hills situated north of Rajamahendravaram, some sages were doing penance. Some more sages were undertaking penance on the hills located on eastern side. Holy Pattishachala Kshetra is in the midst of river Godavari and is situated at a distance from Rajamahendravaram. During Mahashivaratri, some of these sages used to recite Vedic hymns in Pattishachala Kshetra and in Kotilinga Kshetra of Rajamahendravaram. All these sages who were coming from east, west, north, and south directions used to meet in the midway in a village called Edurulpalli. They used to take rest in a village called Munikudali, which was very near to Edurulpalli. There they were engaged in mutual discussions. On account of my good fortune, I could visit Munikudali village along with my father. All this was the divine play of Lord Sri Datta. Sripada Sri Vallabha is the first and foremost incarnation of Sri Dattatreya in Kali Yuga. Most profound philosophical matters, scriptures of Yoga Shastra, and astrological subjects came for discussion there. All the great sages who participated in those discussions unanimously declared that Lord Sri Datta took incarnation under the name of Sripada Sri Vallabha in Pitikapuram, and he is the first and foremost comprehensive incarnation of Datta in Kali Yuga. They also told that those who cannot see him physically could see him in their hearts through the processes of meditation, and that this incarnation was extremely peaceful and completely filled with compassion. Then my father took me to Pitikapuram. The group of scholars who accompanied us took bath in the Padagaya Tirtha and visited and worshipped various deities in the Kukuteshwara temple. From there, they proceeded to the house of Sri Bapanarya, chanting Vedic hymns. Sri Bapanarya and Sri Appalaraja Sharma met us along with their group of scholars chanting Vedic hymns. It was a very enchanting spectacle. It is impossible to witness such divine and beautiful scenes unless one had to his credit the fruits of good deeds performed in past lives. Description of the divine and auspicious form of Sri Pada. Then a feast was arranged for all of us in the house of Sri Bapanarya. By that time, the age of Sri Pada Sri Vallabha did not exceed 5 years. In that tender age, with milk oozing all over, the divine child was very bright, very lustrous, very handsome, and very tall. Infinite love and mercy were flowing from his twin eyes as a big stream. When I touched his prosperous feet, he placed his benign hand of assurance on my head. He blessed me, Ananda Sharma, saying, "My grace will be on you in this and all succeeding births. In your final birth, you will become an Avaduta under the name Venkaya. May you shine well by constantly keeping sacrificial fire, capable of making rain shower during drought, capable of solving the worldly difficulties of householders." Then I said to him, "The more I hear the divine place of Sri Pada, they appear more and more strange and peculiar. Kindly tell me the secrets about the devoted pursuit of Gayatri Mantra, the description of the efficacy of all the letters of Gayatri Mantra." Ananda Sharma expatiated thus: The Gayatri Shakti is a power pervading all the universe. By that, all the treasures in the fields connected with body, mind, and soul can be obtained. Nerves from the different organs of the body spread all throughout the body. When some nerves join together, that group center of nerves is called a Grandhi. Different forces are concentrated in the various Grandhis of the body. When those mantras are chanted by those who are adepts in Japa Yoga, the forces lying concentrated in Grandhis are manifested. Om. When this is chanted at 6 inches area on the head. Bhu. When this is chanted at 4 inches area above the right eye. Bhuvaha. When this is chanted at 3 inches area above the third eye of the man. Suvaha. When this is chanted at 4 inches area above the left eye, Shakti is awakened. These following seed words are to be uttered for the purposes shown against them. To awaken the Safalya power embedded in Tapini Grandhi in the area of Agna Chakra. Sacred words Tat. To activate the Parakrama force embedded in Safalta Grandhi in the left eye. Sa. To activate the Palana power concentrated in Vishwa Grandhi in the right eye. V. To rouse the power Mangalakaram concentrated in Tushti Grandhi in the left ear. Tuhu. To achieve the power yoga enshrined in Varada Grandhi of right ear. Va. To achieve the power prema concentrated in Revati Grandhi in the base of the nose. Re. To activate the force Ghana lying in the Sushma Grandhi in the upper lip. Ni. To activate Teja power lying in Jnana Grandhi in the lower lip. Yam. To activate Rakshana power concentrated in Bharga Grandhi in the throat. Bhar. To achieve Buddhi power concentrated in the Gomati Grandhi in the gullet. Go. To rouse the power Dhamanam lying in the Devika Grandhi in the upper portion of left side chest. Dhi. To rouse the power Nishta concentrated in the Varahi Grandhi lying at the upper portion of right side chest. Va. To activate the Dharana force concentrated in Simhini Grandhi positioned in the place where the side ribs at the end join in the upper portion of stomach. Shya. To activate the Prana Shakti concentrated in Dhyana Grandhi of liver. Dhi. To activate Samyama force concentrated in the Maryada Grandhi in the spleen. Ma. To rouse Tapo Shakti concentrated in Sputa Grandhi of navel. He. To activate the Shakti of Durdashita in the Medha Grandhi lying at the end of spinal cord. Dhi. To activate the force Antarnihita concentrated in the Yogamaya Grandhi on the left shoulder. Yo. To rouse the Utpadana Shakti concentrated in the Yogini Grandhi of right shoulder. Yo. To rouse the Sarasata power concentrated in the Dharini Grandhi of right forearm. Naha. To activate Adharsha power lying in Prabhava Grandhi in the left forearm. Pra. To activate Sahasa power lying in the Ushma Grandhi of right wrist. Cho. To rouse Viveka power concentrated in the Drushya Grandhi of right palm. The. To awaken Seva Shakti concentrated in the Niranjana Grandhi of left palm, Yat. In this way, there is a close connection between the 24 letters of Gayatri Mantra. 24 Grandhis located in the various areas of our body and the 24 kinds of Shaktis concentrated in those Grandhis. Number 9 indicates the changeless Brahma Tattva, nature of Brahma. Number 8 indicates the Maya Tattva, nature of illusion. Dochopati Devalakshmi, an explanation of that sentence. Sri Sripada used to accept 2 chapatis from the houses of those whom he liked. He was calling Dochopati Devalakshmi instead of Do chapati Dev Lakshmi. In this, Do sound indicates number 2. Chow sound indicates number 4. Pati Dev sounds points to Parameshwara, suggesting number 9, and Lakshmi sound suggests the form of Maya, indicated by number 8. Therefore, 2498 is formed as a mysterious figure. Sri Sripada used this number to indicate that he is Mother Gayatri, Paramatma and Parashakti. Then I said, Sir, I understood to some extent as to what you told me about the 24 letters of Gayatri Mantra. You told that number 9 represents Paramatma and 8 represents the phenomenon of Maya. Explanation about the number 9. Then Ananda Sharma said, Dear Shankara Bhatt, Paramatma is beyond this universe. He is not subjected to any changes. 9 is a strange number. When 9 is multiplied with 1, the product comes as 9. 9 multiplied by 2 gives 18 as product. When 1 is added to 8, the total comes to 9. Likewise, 9 into 3 is 27 and 2 plus 7 is again becoming 9. Likewise, when 9 is multiplied by any number, the sum of the different numbers in that product will become 9 only. In this way, 9 signifies the changeless Supreme Self. Explanation of Gayatri. Not only that, Gayatri Mantra is like the celestial tree. The Om in that incantation is the base trunk that comes out of the earth. By reciting Omkara, one can obtain knowledge about the existence of God and the devotion towards God. The main trunk has developed into 3 branches of Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. Bhu is capable of imparting knowledge of self. Bhuva suggests the karma yoga to be followed by a living being when he holds a body. Swaha helps in maintaining equipoise in all pairs of opposites and attain samadhi sthiti. From the branch Bhu, 3 sub-branches Tat, Savitu, Varenyam came out. Tat gives wisdom of life to the individual. Savitu gives strength to the bodily being, and Varenyam helps man to transcend animal instincts and transform into a divine personality. From the branch Bhuva, 3 sub-branches Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi originated. Bhargo means enhances purity. Devasya bestows supernatural sight possible only for celestials. Dhimahi improves good qualities. From the branch Swaha, 3 sub-branches Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat branched off. Dhiyo develops discrimination. Yonaha develops restraint, and Prachodayat develops spirit of service in all living creatures. Therefore, it is now understood by you that Gayatri, the celestial tree, has three branches, and each branch has three sub branches. So, 2498 is a figure which denotes Sri Sripada Vallabha. I have explained to you the significance of number 9 in that figure. Explanation of number 8. Number 8 is of the nature of Maya. This is verily the nature of Mother Anagha. 8 multiplied with 1 gives 8. 8 multiplied with 2 gives 16. In this, if 1 is added to 6, it gives 7. This is lesser than 8. If 8 multiplied with 3, 24 is derived. In this, if 2 is added to 4, it gives 6, which is lesser also than 8. Likewise, when 8 multiplied by any number, the sum of the different numbers in that product always become either equal or less than 8. In this way, the attribute of withdrawing the strength of all living beings in the creation rests in the universal mother. Maya phenomenon has the power to devalue any person, however great, and show him to the world in that depressed form. Sripada Sri Vallabha is the personification of Mother Gayatri. He is Sri Datta in the company of his consort Anagha Devi. Those who worship him with mind, speech, and actions obtain all desires. In the early morning, Brahmi Shakti seated on a swan. In the afternoon, Vaishnavi Shakti seated on an eagle. And in the evening, Shambhavi Shakti riding on a bullock dwell in Mother Gayatri. The presiding deity of Gayatri incantation is Savita Devi. As a result of Savitri Kataka Chayanam performed by sage Bharadwaja in Treta Yuga in Pitikapuram, Sripada Sri Vallabha incarnated in Pitikapuram. Savita Devi assumes the form of Rigveda in the early morning. In the afternoon, she takes the form of Yajurveda. In the evening, she will be in the form of Samaveda and as Atharva Veda during night. Sun, who is visible to our eye, is only a symbol. When yogis attain the zenith of spiritual achievement, they can't have a vision of the very brilliantly shining triangular shaped Brahmayoni. Out of it, crores and crores of Brahmandas originate every moment. They are protected and also destroyed every moment. In this fashion, creation, sustenance, and liquidation go on every moment. The force of Savita, which creates, maintains, and destroys these countless universes, is called Savitri. Nevertheless, Gayatri and Savitri are inseparable. Fire used for burning corpses is called Lohita. Fire used for cooking food is called Rohita. In the same way, a great force is functioning as Gayatri and Savitri in the worldly and other worldly stages. In the process of evolution of living creatures, there are many necessities relating to this world. All of them are fulfilled by grace of Mother Savitri. Spiritual advancement of the living beings is achieved through the grace of Mother Gayatri. A synthesis is required to enjoy all comforts and pleasures in the mundane world and to experience the divine bliss of the liberated state in the other world. Those who take refuge in the lotus feet of Sri Pada achieve the advantages of both the worlds. This is precisely the difference between the devotion of Sri Datta and the devotion of other deities. I felt that whatever the great Sri Ananda Sharma narrated was unique. Then I said, "Great sir, you are very fortunate. I heard that Sri Pada would take the incarnation of Sri Nusimha Saraswati. I also heard that in that incarnation, he would accept Sri Krishna Saraswati as preceptor. What a strange thing it is!" Sri Ananda Sharma continued his narration. "The incarnation of God comes only for the sake of devotees. On assuming a human form, he would practice the teach how to superhuman being should conduct himself. The station of renunciates had to be uplifted. If he wants to become an ascetic, a preceptor is required. That guru should be fully worthy and qualified. Out of crores, only one person will be worthy of being a preceptor to a person who is verily an incarnation. In the family where an incarnate person was born, 80 generations get salvation. In that family, plenty of punya would fall into several heaps. In the same way, the family of the person who would be the guru of that incarnate person should also be very pious. In Tanuku, a great person by name Mayanacharya was born in the family of Vajapayajula. Srimati by name, his wife. They were a pious couple. After some time, they were living in Mangalapuram in the area of Nandikotturu. Madhava, Shayana and Bhoginath were born to them. Madhava became Vidyaranya to restore Sanatana Dharma. The great sage Bapanarya drew power from the solar region and invested it in the Sri Saila Mallikarjuna Mahalinga. In reality, the Sri Charan of Sri Datta incarnated on Sri Mountain. The advent of the glorious Charan of Sri Pada on the Sri Mountain was a wonderful thing. The name of the mountain was Sri. The Charan of Sri Datta are Sri Charana. The name of Sri Pada Sri Vallabha is very much appropriate for this modern incarnation. There were relationships between the families of Bapanarya and Mayanacharya from many generations. People used to jokingly remark that a female child born in Malladi house would be the daughter-in-law of Vajapayajula family, and a female child born in Vajapayajula family would be the daughter-in-law of Malladi family. However, Bapanarya did not give in marriage his daughter Saubhagyavati Sumati Maharani to the family of Vajapayajula. Inspired by fate and on account of divine decision, Bapanarya gave his daughter Akhanda Lakshmi Saubhagyavati Sumati Maharani in marriage to Gandikota Appalaraj Sharma. Lord Datta was born as Sri Pada Sri Vallabha, and to redeem Vajapayajula family, having blood relationship with his maternal grandfather, attracted Madhavacharya towards him. Affection for Sri Pada overflowed in Madhavacharya. Madhavacharya evolved as sage Vidyaranya. His disciple was Malayananda and his disciple Devatirthulu. His disciple Yadavendra Saraswati and his disciple was Krishna Saraswati. Between Sri Vidyaranya and Sri Krishna Saraswati, there were three people. Sri Vidyaranya would be born as Sri Krishna Saraswati and be the preceptor of Sri Pada in his next incarnation. In future, Sri Vidyaranya will take birth in the family of his brother Shayanacharya under the name of Govinda Dikshita. He will be a saint prince and become the chief minister of Tanjore. This was the divine pronouncement of Sri Pada. Sri Pada was always speaking truth. Once Sumati Maharani was giving bath to Sri Pada. At that time, Sri Venkatapaya Sresti came there. On seeing him, Sri Pada questioned, "Grandfather, do we belong to the Markandeya lineage?" He did not reply but laughed at the sweet words of Sri Pada and their ironical meaning. In fact, Sri Pada belonged to the Bharadwaja lineage and Venkatapaya Sresti was from the Markandeya lineage. Sri Pada told in a veiled manner that he is the maternal grandson of Sri Venkatapaya Sresti. According to mental perception, Mother Sumati after the bath made a round with water and blessed Sri Pada. May you live as long as Markandeya. The lifespan of Markandeya was only 16 years. With the grace of Shiva, he became a long-lived one. He suggested indirectly that he would stay only for 16 years with parents. After 16 years of age, Markandeya abandoned home and became a long-living hermit. Sri Pada also stayed with parents for 16 years and thereafter became a world preceptor. He repeatedly asserted that he would conceal his body, that his body will have eternal life, and that he incarnated as the son of Anasuya and Atri in the past in the same form of Sri Pada Sri Vallabha which was seen presently. The different forms of Sri Pada. Sri Pada used to externalize his yogic power and was appearing along with that yogic power personified as a female. Only Lord Datta could bring out Kundalini force in this way in the shape of a female. Bapanarya, Rajamamba, parents of Sri Pada, Narsimhavarma and his wife, Venkatapaya Sresti couple and some others had a vision of that fresh young couple below the age of 16 years. His parents who wanted to marry them, however, met with disappointment. He had already indicated in the very first meeting with Mother Sumati as an Avaduta that he would grant them the vision of a divine couple. Avaduta said to Mother Sumati, "Mother, your son will be with you for 16 years. If you intend to marry him, he will not heed to you. On the other hand, he will abandon the house and leave. Therefore, conduct yourself according to his wishes." Sri Anagha and Sri Datta are ancient couple. They have no death or birth. They always reveal in divine sportive play. In the forms of Sri Pada Sri Vallabha, Sri Nusimha Saraswati and Swami Samardha, they remain as Ardhanarishwara, half female and half male form of Ishvara. The fruits accruing from the worship for 40 days and Parayana of Sri Pada Sri Vallabha Charitamrita. This is a divine secret. There is a special significance in the incarnation of Sri Pada on Ganesh Chaturthi. Labha was the son of Sri Ganesha. During one Kalpa and Yuga, he became famous as Labhada Maharshi. He was born as Nanda at the time of incarnation of Sri Krishna. That Labha was born as the maternal grandfather of Sri Pada at the time of incarnation of Sripada. Sripada incarnated after steadily retaining in his consciousness the attributes of Lord Vignesha in order to ward off all obstacles in the way of his devotees. He was born in the star Chitta. He disappeared in Kurvapuram in the star Hasta, which is the 27th star from Chitta. Devotees of Sri Sripada have to observe a vow for a mandala, 40 days, to remove the undesirable effects caused by the movement of 9 planets in the 27 stars as scanned from their horoscopes. If Sri Sripada is worshipped for a mandala with care and devotion, or if his hagiography is read devotedly during that period, all desires will be fulfilled. Mind, intellect, inclination, and ego are spreading their individual vibrations and pulsations in all the 10 directions. It means that their vibrations are broadcast separately in 40 directions. If these vibrations in all the 40 directions are arrested and diverted towards Sripada, they reach Sripada Sri Vallabha consciousness. There they are properly reformed and transformed as prosperous vibrations and return to the aspirant. Then all the righteous wishes of the spiritual seeker are achieved. My child, Shankara Bhatt, I came to know through internal perception that you would write the biography of Sri Sripada. Generally, the Parayana books currently in the world contain the family details of the author and different hosanas, etc. In the history of the Lord, which you are writing description of your family details is unnecessary. Meditate upon the Lord, install Sri Sripada in your internal eye and write in a simple style easily understood by all. Then, whatever comes out of your writing instrument through the consciousness of Sri Sripada will only stand as truth. Books written in this sort of inspiration are mantras uttered in this manner of inspiration need not be subjected to the regulations of grammar or prosody. Some of the great devotees praised in the local language and with ordinary common words when they had the vision of the Almighty. They violated even the common rules of grammar. Even then, those stotras had to be recited in that manner only. Desired result cannot be obtained if alterations are made to suit the rules of grammar. The strength of Lord's grace remain in the words of the devotee which pleased him and he granted boons. When we recite those stotras with their original words, our consciousness quickly reaches close to the divine consciousness. God is not pleased with externals. He is pleased with the inner feelings. Inner feeling is an eternal power. Please note it. Then I said, Sir, the post-lunch conversation about Sadhguru is very happy. Pray tell me some more details about the incarnation of Sri Sripada and made me gratified. Ananda Sharma said like this, Sri Sripada is very intimate to Malladi, Venkatappaya Sresti and Vatsavai families, and he is having bond of indebtedness which cannot be explained through language. Those three families had lot of punya which was their strength. Therefore, Sripada was of the opinion that refusal of his father to accept money or materials given by those three families would cause difficulties. In accordance with the wish of Shripada, Appalaraja Sharma and Sumati Maharani were freely going to the houses of Malladi, Venkatappaya Sresti and Vatsavai families not only during festivals and important events but also during normal times. On one festive day, Sri Venkatappaya Sresti invited the Appalraja Sharma and his wife to his house. Sri Venkatappaya Sresti kept Sri Sripada in his lap and was rocking in a swinging cradle. Sri Sresti was very serious on that day. There was a reason for that. There was a famous astrologer in Pitikapuram. He studied astrology in Orissa. There was no evidence to show that his predictions had ever gone wrong. He can indicate very accurately about the time of exit of life. He predicted that Sresti would die from heart disease on a particular day at a particular hour and minute. He told that there was a close relationship between some herbs, planets, stars, and some sacred trees and yogic rituals. He added further that he would give a superior medicine and a talisman whereby the untimely death would be warded off. He advised Sresti to remove Appalaraja Sharma and to choose him as family priest. Sresti rejected the suggestion. The astrologer made a oath that if his prediction were to go wrong, he would have his head shaved and paraded on a donkey. This matter was submitted to Appalaraja Sharma and Sri Bapanarya. Bapanarya worked on complicated astrological calculations and disclosed that the threat of untimely death would be nullified by the intervention of divine power. Appalaraja Sharma worshipped Kalagni Shamana and gave that holy water as prasad. Mother Sumati, with a tranquil face, approached Sresti, whom she considered as her paternal uncle. In the meantime, Sresti had pain in the heart and cried, Mother! Mother Sumati, who was nearby, came running, saying, My son, have you called me? She touched the heart of Sresti with her divine, auspicious, and prosperous hand. Sri Sripada, who was in the lap of Sresti, yelled loudly, Go! There was a buffalo in the house of Sresti. Immediately it struggled violently and died in seconds. Sresti was saved. This information went to the astrologer. He at once came running to the house of Sresti. He inwardly felt very much sad that his great prophecy went wrong in a trice. Sri Sripada said to the astrologer, No doubt you are an astrologer. You made lot of study, I don't deny. Why should Sresti have fear of death when I, a light of all lights, is here? You need not shave your head and parade on an ass. It is enough if you repent. Your father, when he was alive, took a loan from Sresti. He lied that he had repaid that loan. He told that lie, that too by swearing upon goddess Gayatri. As a result, your father was born as a buffalo in the house of Sresti. As Sresti is a generous one, he was giving plenty of fodder to that buffalo. I granted a noble birth to your father who had an inferior birth. I transferred to the buffalo the fruits of past actions of Sresti, who was to meet untimely death. You conduct funeral rites to the buffalo and also arrange free feast of food. The result of karma of your father gets destroyed and he attains a noble status. That astrologer followed the instructions of Sri Sripada very faithfully. My boy Shankara Bhatt. Sri Sripada rescues life in a variety of ways. Sometimes he reduces some lifespan of the ensuing birth and enhances lifespan in the present birth. Just as was done in the case of Sresti, he can transfer the karma phala from one being to another. The lifespan of the person can also be increased by transferring some lifespan from a well-wisher. In an extraordinary way, he can command death and grant life to the individual. Sri Sripada is a complete incarnation of yoga. A yogi stops growth, wear and tear, and keeps life force in his control. Nothing is impossible for him. It is easy to achieve liberation by breaking the course of inhalation and exhalation. A Kriya Yogi sends his life force through Agna, Vishuddha, Anhata, Manipura, Swadhisthana, and Mooladhara regions of the body, and also rotates it from upward to downward directions and vice versa. The time required for one kriya equals to the natural spiritual development in 1 year. My child, if 1000 kriyas are performed in the one third of the total day for 3 years, a spiritual development equal to the natural process obtained in 10 lakh years is achieved. When it is mentioned in Puranas about yogis who undertook penance for many thousands of years, it must be understood that it refers to the time naturally required for nature in the process of that evolution. Then it must be understood that the actual time taken by yogis and the time required for evolution to come about naturally are different. Brahma gives longevity to every living being and fixes the number of breaths, but he will not fix it in terms of years. During bad traits like anger and emotion, breath is heavily expended. Thereby, longevity decreases. Monkey, which has mental instability, takes more number of breaths. Tortoise, which lives for 300 years, takes in a given time the 1 by 8th of the breaths taken by the monkey. I became very wise by the good conversation with Ananda Sharma. In the morning, after finishing morning activities, I took permission of Ananda Sharma and started towards Kurvapuram for the darshan of Sripada Sri Vallabha. Sripada Rajam Sharanam Prapadhe.